Um, Thought we had a great spring. Truthfully, I love the chemistry in our building right now, and um, the energy. Got to get some guys healthy that weren't able to get through spring that we're depending upon. But man, what a beautiful day in Jordan-Hare, and our fans showed up. And I think we pretty clear it would be a kind of a practice, and they still showed up. I mean, it just tells you about the Auburn people and how great they are and the support they have for us. So thought it was one of the better springs I've been a part of, and a lot of credit goes to our staff and our leadership team for demanding the accountability to the standards.
We'll get some microphones coming here in a second. Darryl will start.
Coach, talk about this is your third spring and the difference in the roster reconstruction. And I know it's just on paper, and you had some guys that didn't participate. But when you look at the talent level on the roster that you're able to run out this spring as opposed to 2 springs ago, talk a little bit about that if you would.
Yeah, it's quite different and in a good way. Obviously, anytime you take over a program of this magnitude that has the expectations Auburn does, it's there's a reason you got it, and so and that's certainly not casting a judgment on anyone else, because you never know really what happens till you walk into someone else's shoes. But you have to have top 10 recruiting classes in this league to form an elite roster. And I felt like we could do that at Auburn, and we have in the 2 recruiting classes we've had, and the roster therefore looks different. And I thought it would take 3 to really have the roster to where it rivals those of the elite in this conference, and that's probably still accurate. But I do feel optimistic that with the 2 we've had, we can compete, should compete this year, and so it does look different. So let's go line up and see what we got.
Go here to Nathan.
What positions do you think you'll be looking at in the portal, and do you expect? I know you say you always like to have 4 quarterbacks. Do you think you'll go get another scholarship quarterback?
We have been discussing that every personnel meeting, because I think the game is changing. I haven't heard the latest on the settlement, but it's going to be difficult you're going to have to model it after an NFL roster, I think, eventually, and that leans to, do we go with 3 and use the extra on a big somewhere, whether it be O-line or D-line. We haven't made that final determination yet. And, some of it will probably depend on what's available. I think it's probably going to be a pretty hard sell, maybe, so that's something we're still determining. But the positions, you never will turn down interior D lineman or pass rusher or some guys with experience. I really like our young linebackers. Could we use one that has some experience if one's available? Probably so. And never turn down a great cover guy either. I think offensively we're pretty set, provided, obviously we've got to retain our roster too with another portal coming.
Coach, what's it been like for you being able to focus your attention on Jackson and Deuce this spring? You haven't had to split reps with a bunch of quarterbacks, and how's that affected their development so far?
I think that's been a blessing. I really, working with just 2, with Kent, Jesse, and myself, I thought was really nice. Their arms are probably a little tired because they got most of the throws for sure, but I think it was needed for both of them. I feel like we're way ahead of the game, of them understanding our system and what we want to do. Both have high football IQs. Both are hungry to come in and study. And so them getting the majority of the reps, we have a lot of things we can teach from. And they got to see it firsthand because, again, you weren't splitting a number of reps. I thought it was very beneficial to us.
We had somebody on the front.
Hugh, another good day it looked like for Perry. I know you talked about the other day about him, taking that step forward. Just how do you think he's kind of handled all this? Obviously not having a huge freshman season like some of those other guys did, and carrying that into this spring.
Perry's a hard one to read, and we've had several talks, and I've talked to him about, hey, Van Jefferson red-shirted, DK Metcalf red-shirted, and didn't. Now, part of his was due to an injury, but there's been many that don't just have you're not just ready-made. There's a process to this for most people in this league, and man, just be patient with the process, and I think he's starting to see the success that comes with that, and as long as he continues to be consistent in his efforts, he's talented enough to be a real good weapon for us, and I think you saw that today in some of the contested catches he made in the Skelly period.
We got one in the back.
Just with Jackson not practicing today, Deuce getting the majority of reps, how did you think he did out there his first time in front of fans in this stage?
He did okay. He threw a couple late picks in the Skelly period that wasn't he hasn't done that all spring. He hadn't thrown the ball late. He has a real good instinct when the pocket is collapsing to keep his eyes downfield and extend plays, and then either throw away or run. And he's done it well all spring. He and Jackson both have taken care of the ball well. So that was a little out of character for him, truthfully, with the days we've had in practice. I just hadn't seen that. So those were he immediately knew, and that's the great thing about him. After every play, man, he's giving you feedback, and so I thought he made some really nice throws, putting the ball. We talk about all the time, trust our receivers and put the ball in a position for them to make a play. There was some 3 or 4 in that Skelly period that were just really, really nice throws that gave our guys chances to make plays in the 50-50 contested catches. And then in the team stuff, I thought he managed it pretty well. He was making some of the calls that we need down in the red zone on getting himself protected if he knows he's going to throw it, and that's good to see him picking that up. So I thought it was a solid day for him. He'll look at the film, and there'll be things that he wish he would have done differently, but that's nothing like that experience for him to help prepare him for the fall.
We're going to finish with 2 over here, Dan, and then
Coach, you lost some of the most vocal leaders from last year's team. Who stepped up as in the void, and where's the leadership coming from on this year's team?
Yeah, I'd say defensively, Champ, Anthony, and Keldrick fought for sure. Both of which were out this spring, so that wasn't great. But there's no doubt that they are a driving force, on the defensive side. On the offensive side, Damari Alston for sure, and Jeremiah Wright, Connor Liu are doing really well. And I tell you, he's new, but Horatio Fields has got a voice that people follow, and good to see that. And I think Jackson will too. He just, he's like Horatio, was new and wasn't on the ballot for the leadership council, but will be coming up soon. But been pleased with the guys that need to be the vocal guys and how they lead.
With Jackson being out today, how's he feeling, and then how would you just evaluate his spring overall coming in?
I thought he had a really solid spring, and he's feeling fine. He just didn't need to run today and risk. There's no defect in the hamstring. You certainly don't want to create one with 1 day left going into an off season that he needs to be ready to go. So no need in risking that. Same thing with Eric Singleton. So I thought he had a solid spring. I love the way he is poised in the pocket. His eyes are downfield. He uses his legs when he needs to. He's got a strong enough arm to make every throw. I'm excited about and optimistic about both he and Deuce's springs.